Hello and welcome to episode 20 of my informative playthrough of Pathfinder Kingmaker. Now, this is going to be a bit more of a sedate episode, more of me chatting, because I still have many NPCs that I haven't spoken to at all at Oleg's, and I'd like to get through the full roster before we end Chapter 1. And I've kind of selected Octavia and Regongar here as our companions. We're upstairs in Oleg's trading post. You can actually see Tristan over here.
My time to shine.
Because we recruited him second, he will lie here, for 90 days. If you let him. If you don't move on the chapter, that's it. You can't have him in your party. But he will be hale and healthy next next chapter. So we're going to just talk to Octavia and Regongar. We've spoken to Valerie, we've spoken to Harem, we've spoken to Amiri. We've got these two, and we've got Jathal, and we've got Lindsay, are our primary individuals we want to talk to. So zoom in so you can see the models. I haven't taken Octavia out as a character. I think I might do that for one last quest, one last area this chapter. But she's very powerful, as you can make any of the characters here at this difficulty. But let's just say hello. So she's relentlessly upbeat as well, and I think I mentioned in a previous video she comes on quite strong. I think I described her as thirsty in the previous video, but yes. Anyway, and she's both her and Regongar are romanceable options. I believe in a sort of polyamorous relationship as well, if that's your thing. But we're just gonna ask questions which are very invasive. So, Octavia, tell us about your childhood. And basically, she doesn't remember anything. But let's pry a bit deeper. And, yeah. Because the idea is that these two have been slaves from a very young age. To the point where they remember almost nothing. That doesn't involve them being enslaved. And so Octavia remembers her mother, but only like her mother's dress and the smell and the table, but that's all. So you can sort of get a sense of how young she was when she was enslaved, and it kind of feels very hazy. She doesn't need them, so this is quite a funny option. What do you remember about your parents? You're a half-elf, right? Am I? I think I might be. I'm rather slim and tall, and I can see well in dim light. Oh, my ears, they're a bit pointy. Yes, I'm definitely a half-elf. And, yes, anyway, she, can't do the pretending she didn't know sort of thing. But yes, she is a half-elf. And she doesn't know anything at all about which of her parents was the elf and which one was the human. So yeah, do you remember anything about how you were enslaved? And yes, big fat man and with a beard. She thought he was going to eat her. And she was sold on swiftly. And she doesn't know why. She doesn't know why, she was given up. Her mother was clearly unhappy. But, so was she sold? Was it required to pay a debt? Was there, as she says, one more riddle from my past that I don't care to solve? And finally, it must be horrible being unable to recall your childhood. And I think we've sort of gathered she's basically going to say no. Yeah. My childhood was slavery. I don't remember anything else beforehand. But yeah, like she says, to be honest, I'm not sure I want to remember my childhood before slavery. If I could remember what I lost, it would probably bring just more pain. So it's a good thing I don't remember much of anything. So she's been a slave almost her whole life, as far as she remembers. And will you tell me about your life in slavery? And yeah, this running up to just a few days ago, basically, when we freed her and Regongar. But how on earth were you in the Stolen Lands? And we learned about this Technic League expedition that had come down here, probably seeking magical artifacts. Yep, there we go, ancient artifacts or ancient ruins. And they never made it there never made it to their hideout because we attacked and freed them. As we do, no slavery in Alice's barony. And the most unusual thing about Octavia and Regongar is they're magical. So we'll be asking this question in a second. But did you have many masters over the years? And yes, I did all I could to make every master eager to get rid of me. A slave that's trained in magic is a rather expensive thing, so they wouldn't kill me. At least that was the hope. And this was her sort of game. She played at being stupid. Drooled and played the idiot. Other times I pretended to mix up the spells, so instead of lighting a magic torch, I set dozens of dancing lights floating just below the ceiling. Of course, most of these tricks usually ended badly, punished on a regular basis, whips and scars. So where did you learn magic? And she refers to Janusha Starfall, one of the most famous wizards in Numeria, Maestro Janusha. Sorry, Maestro Janush. And yeah, who taught her magic as a slave. He was doing instruction to slaves. And this is Starfall, the capital of Numeria. Not a nice place. Yes. And he was obviously contracted to provide arcane-trained slaves. And this officially there's no slavery in Numeria, but the Technic League is above any law. But her repertoire is limited to the simplest and safest spells, of course, so maybe that's the little sort of explanation as to why she's a level 1 wizard. And her comments about dancing lights, she's not saying, my spells to kill an entire room, I messed them up. She's very much only allowed to learn very basic magic. So, have you ever tried to run away? What a silly question. And they ran a lot. Jumped from the cart into the river, spent weeks trying to dismantle the firewall of the barracks, attacked our guards, the whole lot. And we craved freedom. We lived only to dream about it. And yeah, so there lots of escape attempts, lots of short lengths of time spent on the run, but too bad it usually ended too soon. And they were always tracked down. And it says, I don't know how they managed to do it. They probably used magic. So maybe there's some way in which they're being tracked. And we'll see how that plays out later. And of course they were returned. This is a stupid question, because she's been saying this repeatedly over and over again. But, it was very unpleasant for her. Yes. And Octavia here is chaotic good, and one of her overarching personality things is her dislike of slavery and pretty strong dislike of authority in general. So chaotic good and chaotic evil. So, yeah, growing up as a slave makes you not particularly like established hierarchy, since you're at the very bottom of it. Anyway, let's talk about something else. And this is this little interjection. Wait, I want to tell you, etc., etc. Technic League agents you rescued us from. We tried to run many times. I have no reason to hope that this time they've lost track of us for good. And there are sort of romance type options here, but we're going to pick the chaotic good. No more filthy slavers. And yeah, that's great. We went to see them through the dust. And this here, still I'd like to find them first. This is in relation to her NPC companion quest. And we can, so she's a worshipper of Callistria, the predominantly elven goddess of like lust and revenge. So we can see their savoured sting here. Yeah, so her symbol is a wasp. So it's like wasp-ish. Yes, and they sort of they are their life as slaves was sort of, you know, relatively hedonistic, not in the sort of sense that they had lots of stuff, but that they, you know, took every opportunity to enjoy what little time, what little that they had. So this savor every droplet of pleasure we could squeeze from our bleak days. We can pry into her relationship with Regongar, and yeah, she gives a very simple answer here. And we can ask the fact that he's impulsive doesn't bother you. And yeah, so they have an odd relationship because of what they've been through together. And yeah, he's extremely bloodthirsty when it comes to slavers. But yeah, while she's chaotic good, he's chaotic evil. I'm afraid that anger might kill everything good in him. So this is alluding to his companion quest and the options we made. So back in the Technic League encampment, I chose to spare Kalana, the slaver, because it's not really like redeeming, but keeping him on a non-destructive path. And when did you meet Regongar? And so we learn a bit about Reg here. He was a student too, though he wasn't studying anything. Yeah, he's got this innate bloodline abilities. As we know, he's got a blue dragon bloodline as a eldritch scion magus, spontaneous magus caster. And when Janusz understood what was going on, he just taught him to control his powers to avoid harming himself or others. And this is what drew them together. Not just the shared magic, but a craving for freedom. And we're going to pry a little bit more. The way you said you were together sounded unconvincing. Is there anything wrong? And yeah. Okay, so this is her dislike, is that Regongar seems to treat her as his property. And, you know, he's very kind, but he always refers to her as my Octavia. And, you know, she doesn't really like that. And we'll ask him his side of the story as well. Anyway, she says it'll sort itself out somehow. And we're going to ask, I don't believe she likes this option. Yeah, she doesn't like the word oh. Yeah, but yes, he has done quite a lot for her. And it's this sort of comments here that he took a lot of her punishments for her. And which sort of, I guess, speaks to this, you know, very deep relationship between them from, you know, a lifetime enslaved together. So yeah, we've always been together. Yeah, I wouldn't be me if not for him. Anyway, we're not going to ask the sort of flirty option. I'm going to ask this one. It's amazing how, after all your hardships, you still remain so cheerful and optimistic. This is a very Alice thing to say. And, yes, she's a little bit, not as positive about it as you might think. But, there's good things in her life, and now she's free. Yeah. Anyway, finally, why do you need to find the Technic League agents? And she wants to free all the slaves from the Technic League. She is an abolitionist, I guess a active abolitionist rather than a simple theoretical abolitionist. And yeah, I do believe while we're together we can achieve a lot, even this. Anyway, that is Octavia there. We have been through her whole dialogue tree. So let's move on to Regongar and learn his side of the story. Hi, Regongar. Yes, he is. It's an interesting portrait here. I always thought it's very Magus. So, tell me about yourself. And he's rather blunt. That's yeah. We'll ask him about his childhood, which presumably is quite a lot different to Octavia's, being half orc. And he's blunt. What a crap question. I was just a kid when they sold me. Before that, I don't remember much. Smoky fires, stinking hides, always bumping along on a horse. And I was born in one of the Kellid tribes of Numeria. There are many, some surviving on their own, some giving up their pride and serve the Technic League. I guess mine was one of the cowards, if they sold their own kids. So yes, this idea that Numeria is this fusion of barbarians and very advanced mages because of this crash spaceship, and there's these Kellid tribes that were there, originally, but when Numeria was sort of carved out of the Stolen Lands, carved out of the River Kingdoms, because that's where it sort of originated and become a sort of a independent kingdom on its own, sort of divorced from the River Kingdoms. Of course, that was related to this great source of technology, and hence why the Technic League are established there. And yes, so a little bit of information that obviously his mother was an orc, and his father was human, and he's a bit bitter here because he had a sibling who was not sold, and who got to play with the dagger, and Regongar didn't. Yeah. Anyway, he's just like, screw him. And you can see him referring to Octavia as my Octavia, and yeah. So there's that's what she was referring to, and we'll find out a bit more about that in just a second. So he's going to say he worships Calistria, pleasure, fun, and revenge. Where did you get your magical powers? What magical powers? The hell are you talking about? Oh, you mean these? And he does the lightning thing, the shocking grasp, which I've showed off in a previous episode, or tried to with limited success. He's so lazy, just Tristian, just lying there all day. Yeah, he was born with them, and that's maybe why he was sold, because spontaneously manifesting magic can be quite scary. And he was experimented on to determine the source of these powers, because of course sorcerous powers like Alice has and like Regongar have are uncommon. They play a big role in these sort of CRPGs and RPGs in general, like tabletop RPGs, because they're cool characters to play. But as part of the general population, they are very rare, especially to have what in game terms is level 9 sorcery. But that casters of level 9 spells are incredibly rare anyway, let alone ones who can do it, spontaneously just by sort of, charisma willing the magic to do what they want it to do. So yeah, there's a skew of rare classes and archetypes, of course, because they are often the most interesting to players. So yeah, this sort of blue dragon blood was not common at all. Anyway, what do your tattoos mean? They help them control and channel his powers. Come from the Technic League. But again, he's bitter that Kelid tribes normally have tattoos, and he doesn't have any. Kelid tribes people normally have tattoos, and he doesn't have any, so he can't. He's got no idea, where he's from. And how do you manage to use both sword and magic and not cut off your fingers? Because I'm just really, really good. Yeah. And finally, do you enjoy making people suffer? And this is his chaotic evil nature. And I guess he's chaotic evil with a small e. Evil with a small e. Not evil with a big E. He's not the big, bad, chaotic evil, demon. He is simply, he enjoys doing things that other people would consider to be bad. So, I do what I want. I step on someone's toes, then they shouldn't have put them in my way. But chasing down someone he's not chaotic evil like the sort of stereotype of the bad tabletop player who's just like the psychopathic murderer. He's small e chaotic evil, because you can encompass a lot of things within that alignment. But as he's sort of saying that he'd make an exception to torture his former slavers, former masters. This is like a dad joke. Thanks, Regongar. Anyway, we're going to pick the neutral good. If you treat your enemies like that, what makes you better than them? And you can see here, neutral evil. I enjoy the torments of others. Chaotic evil, very funny, and also, that's right. So it's like the difference between like neutral evil is it's an interesting alignment because it's like calculated, or more calculated. Like Regongar isn't calculated evil. He's sort of screw you. He's chaotic and leaning towards that small e evil. But we can almost we basically, this would be to disagree with him. Like you don't enjoy torturing others, but I do. That's and this is sort of like stomp on them. Anyway, neutral good. Alice is very nice. And delusions of purity. I don't need to prove myself or my enemies that I'm better than them. I just want them rotting in the ground so I can mess around. Piss on their graves, so to speak. Anyway, thanks for your answers! ! And what about your life in Numeria? So how did you become a slave? So he was in the slave barracks and the League's laboratories. How did you become a slave, Regongar? And we knew this. We knew this already. And he was beaten a lot. And we already kind of know the answer to this. Why did your master teach you magic? Basically because he's got it already. And this is really, really important. Like to his character. Like he was literally raised as a murder machine. Like he was raised to kill using a combination of sword and lightning. A sort of battle slave, magical battle slave. Which I guess is a very, very dangerous thing to do, but worth the risk. And It's not book magic, it's innate. They made me practice with my sword more. I studied all I could. They knew they were raising an enemy, but they thought they could keep me on a short leash, or sell me to someone with deep pockets, so I'd become someone else's problem. Yeah, but who won in the end, huh? Who's free? Who will bury them all? Yeah. And northwest, and I think I've talked about a little bit about the geography. Numeria is northwest, as Brevoy is northeast. What did you see beyond your life in chains? Nothing. That's it. But he did run into some barbarians here, and he basically asked about his past, because obviously he's unlike Octavia, who seems to be, want to let it go. Regongar seems just really quite upset about his history, and these bloody pikes barbarians, they were pretty nice, whereas the White Scars did. So these are barbarians who hire out to the Technic League and Numeria as a whole, and those barbarians that try and remain separate. And this is cool, because this is what's called a retriever. This animal, this construct. You encounter them in Wrath of the Righteous. It's like this giant metallic spider used by demons to track down, those who try to flee, not justice, but demonic, revenge, violence, who try to escape somebody who wants to kill them, or betrayers of demon lords, that sort of stuff. Yeah. Did you and Octavia try and escape? Yeah, duh. We already know this from Octavia, but my back is covered with whip scars, and they were prized property, which meant they weren't put to death as recalcitrant slaves. And I don't know whether I could have survived by sheer stubbornness. If it weren't for Octavia, I probably couldn't have. I would have just given up and died, but I had to pull my girl out of that meat grinder, and she believed in me, and had enough hope for both of us. When I lay there with my back slashed to pieces, she whispered to me about the river kingdoms, where there was no slavery, where everyone can go wherever they want, and take whatever they want. So that's, yeah. And that's as I sort of said, both in sort of Alcat's stories, and they go quite deep into these quite unpleasant backstories. Anyway, is slavery legal in Numeria? And basically, depends how much money you've got, and depends how close to the sources of power you are. And it doesn't mean anything to the Technic League. Final question. We can just ask what her relationship is with Octavia, and we delve a little bit deeper into this sort of, my Octavia that she finds quite annoying. Yes, and he uses it again. But I guess this is key. It says they don't have a relationship; they have a life together. And well, why do you call her yours? She doesn't seem to like that very much. And, you really think she feels like I'm trying to make her mine, like an apple stolen at a market? Me, who is skinned alive for trying to help her escape? If she's afraid of the word my, it's because she doesn't understand the difference between my boots and my heart. But she will understand sooner or later. And, how did you meet? So reference to Danush again. And, as children, she was learning book magic, and he was learning innate power, so he didn't incinerate himself like a dumbass. And he's itching to meet Danush again. And just a bit of their life together. And as I think I said when I was sort of talking about Octavia, they've basically been unseparated, ever since they met. So, just circumstances, very unpleasant circumstances. And then we can ask if him and Octavia are faithful to each other, and we actually get quite a bit more about this relationship between them that had to say that it's I guess close to some sort of life bond, or that's how he sees it, rather than a relationship. They're bonded through their shared experiences, stuff that others can't possibly comprehend. What they went through together. And jealousy is for weak cowards. Yes, and it's basically sort of saying that whatever they do, it doesn't affect the link that binds them. She and I are together to the end, and will never part from each other. Yeah. And this is again like, are you interested? And I believe the answer here for both of you is, I'm not here to judge, just curious. I'll leave you to it. When you pry into others' lives, don't be surprised if you find something that will keep you up at night. Ha ha. Anyway, thank you for your answers, Regongar. That's very nice. And I have to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pause the video now, just to keep this chat with the companions self-contained. And the next video we're going to go on our on I guess what is really going to be our final expedition out to kill Tuskgutter and clear up a couple of other things. We've got 7 days and 14 hours left. See you in the next video.